In this lesson, we're going to go over how to modify the CreateAbot Gripzilla arms to better grab a ping pong ball. So by design, Gripzilla is intended to grab other bots. So the arms and claws, the angles, and everything like that was really intended to grab other bots. But there's all kinds of fun things you can do with Gripzilla. It's actually probably one of our first bots that could actually clean up your room if you wanted to. But in this lesson, we're going to show how to modify the arms. You could also modify the claws, but in this one, we'll do the arms to better grab a ping pong ball. So the file that you're looking at here is the standard shared publicly available CreateAbots file. If you don't have it yet, you can go to turnabout.com and hit resources. And if you click on CreateAbot Tinkercad, it will take you to a copy and tinker version of this. And you'll be able to download your own. It'll be your own copy. You can modify it all that you want. If you get lost in it, want to start back over, you could always follow the link again and get yourself a fresh copy. So this is pretty much how it should look when you click on it. Now, often, depending on what you've done previously in Tinkercad, it may initially have the ruler. So the ruler set here is centered on the work plane, but often it defaults to using the endpoint. So you can see this -44, this -66. If I hit the circle with the 3 bars in it, that'll bring it back to the midpoint. So now I can see that my chassis is centered on 0 and 0. And you'll see why that's very, very helpful in the future. We've got Gripzilla way out here to the right. It's centered on 800. So what we'll be wanting to do is duplicating these arms and claws and modifying them to grab a ping pong ball. And often you can just continue working out to the right, but Tinkercad is limited to about 1,000 millimeters from the center of the work plane. So we're actually going to work down here. Actually, we're going to work centered on the work plane below. So what we'll do is we'll grab the left claw and arm, hold shift, grab the right claw and arm. We're also going to grab the shoulder because that we'll be using that to stay centered. Now, you can either click this icon to duplicate and repeat, or Control D to get yourself a duplicate. And my snap grid's set to 1, so if I hold shift, it'll move 10 times that snap grid amount. So I'm gonna hold shift, hit the down arrow a bunch of times, and it's moving 10 millimeters per arrow press. To get this below, I'm gonna click my 800, type 0, enter. That pulled it back over here. And sometimes it moves right, sometimes it doesn't, but if you can always hit this icon, which is fit view selected, and now it will rotate around what you had selected when you hit the F. I'm gonna hold shift and go down a few more times to get it a little bit further from the work plane so I don't have too much visual interference. Now let's drop a ping pong ball. I'm gonna hit the sphere and put it there. And ping pong balls are 40 millimeters. You can see that the sphere defaults to 20. If I hold shift and drag a corner anchor, it scales it. So you can see my length, width, and height are all increasing together. There's my 40 millimeter ball. And it's 7 millimeters from center. So I'm gonna shift left arrow and then right arrow 3 times and back to 0. So I can see my shoulders at 0, my pair of claws are centered around 0. Now, the major advantage of this is that you'll see that my left claw is -87.55, my right claw is +87.55. So instead of having to modify both arms, I can work on just one arm and then duplicate mirror and set it the same distance but negative, and it'll be centered around 0 again. So why do we need to modify these arms to better grab the ping pong ball? What happens as we pull on this and it rotates around this pivot point? What will happen as we try to grab a ping pong ball? So I move that about 40 degrees. I hit T to go transparent, shift, I'm gonna arrow around close to get that pivot point nearly on, and then I'll hit T again to untransparent it. But you can see the angle that it's making here. That is not gonna grab that ping pong ball well. If you're not sure, you can just grab the other side, same thing, do 40, move it around, get it back there. And yeah, that's probably not going to do a great job of that. So with the left claw and left arm selected, I'm just going to delete, get those out of the way. Let's modify this arm. So I'm going to click this to ungroup. You can also do Control-Shift-G and hit T to get them back to solid. You can see I've got a blue forearm, a purple elbow, and a magenta shoulder. And I want to modify this elbow. So I'm going to, again, shift right arrow to get it where I can work on it by itself. And then I'm going to ungroup it. So now you can see the cutter that kind of cut off the forearm. I'll ungroup again. That's the cutter that cut off the shoulder. Ungroup again. Oh, there's my three holes that cut in for the screws. Ungroup one more time. There's the parts that I want to be able to move around. Now as I'm doing this, I don't want to be distracted by those three. So I highlighted everything. You can see I've got 4 shapes highlighted. I want to keep my cutter, but I want to delete my 3 cylindrical holes. Hold Shift, deselect that, delete. Now they're not there to distract me anymore. We want to straighten this arm out. Let's try 40 degrees and move both of those 40. And then we'll bring it back over here and line it up. What we're looking for here is, I'm going to try and keep this pretty simple without too many overlapping facets. Go ahead and turn down my snap grid to 0.1. And there's my kind of forearm to upper arm interface. This yellow portion is intended just to reinforce that elbow. So I move the forearm 20. I'm going to move the I move the forearm 40. I want to move the reinforcement about half that. So that's why I set that to 20 degrees. And I'm going to try and get it where it's not sticking out on the right, because I don't want to add another facet line. I may have to go all the way to snap grid off. That'll move it 1/100 of a millimeter at a time. And here we go. I'm trying to get the blue over on this side to disappear entirely without exposing. There we go. The extra facet here. So the orange overlaps the yellow, the green overlaps the yellow, and I don't have a line on the back side. So that's how I want the arm to end up. And what I can do here, I'll just re-highlight everything and group. That cut all of that back out. I'm going to set my snap grid back to 1 millimeter so that when I hold Shift and arrow back over, this is lined back up. So you can see my purple and my magenta, the way it flickers on all of those facets means that there's these are actually perfectly lined up. And let's go ahead and grab the claw and forearm. I need to put the same 40 degrees on that as this portion in order to get that to line up. And that's very close, but I'm going to go ahead and turn the snap grid back off in order to get this line back up. See if we get any flickering on both sides. No, not yet. So I've got the light blue showing on both. There's the flickering, so that's lined up within 1/100 of a millimeter. So let's see what happens when we rotate it now. We pull this in. We'll try 20 degrees. Flip this back to 1 to get there quicker. Hit T for transparent. I do that just so I can see the hole in the shoulder. Back to 1. So that's almost far enough, and it's a good length. We'll put a few more degrees on it. Let's try, that'll be too much. Let's try 3 degrees. Have we gotten to the ball yet? We can tell. We'll hit T to make that solid again. We'll turn that into a hole, and we are almost touching it, but because we don't have any shadowing there, we're not quite there yet. So let's put another 2 degrees on it. And there we go. So we've made contact. You can see by the shadow that the ball, which we've turned into a hole, is making contact with the claw right there. And if we right arrow this back, still not quite. Get the claw, forearm, elbow, shoulder. We need 1 more degree. So this is one of the things about Tinkercad is there's more iteration with Tinkercad than other parametric CAD where you could be setting things. So there's our interference. That looks good. It's actually getting hold of it. Front and rear. I've got the 4 parts selected. So claw, forearm, elbow, and shoulder. Control D. I'll hit mirror up here or M. I'm gonna mirror it that direction. So there's my 1675. Click that, hit the left arrow to get ahead of the 16, negative, enter, boom, there we go. So there's our left claw. And this interface looks great, but you always have to look around a little bit because what I see here is I actually have an interference between my left claw and my right claw. Fortunately, it's very easy to handle in Tinkercad. We just need to cut that tip off. So we'll grab our square cutter, drop it in here. Let's say I want it to be kind of a similar angle to what it looks like the claw is. And then we can pull it up with this cone on the top. We'll make this one transparent so we can kind of see how far that's going. And I think that's a decent angle. We'll need to cut it to about there. So to cut symmetrically, we can again, I'll control D that box. I'll mirror it across that. Now I'll throw a negative in front of that 8.8. So now I've got this cutter for that claw. And I can join them. I have this cutter for this claw. I can join them. And now my claws don't touch. So we can take another look at it from the top. You can see that we've got our arms, they're in their pivot holes. Our claws are not making contact with each other, but they are making contact with the ping pong ball. And that looks pretty good. Those are pretty close together. Maybe we'll add we'll pull that back another millimeter or so for safety. So I can just, got only the orange, so I'll ungroup that. And we'll go ahead and do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 millimeters to the right. Regroup that one. And we can either mirror and duplicate that again or kind of do the same thing where we just move this cutter box 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the left. Group that back with that. And we'll set this back to solid, different color. I think that's pretty good. I feel pretty good about that. So we do, in order to be able to print these, we need to turn the 3-piece arms back into one. So I've highlighted, made sure I've got 3 shapes here, and I'll group those. So I've got a blue arm on that side, and group those, got a blue arm on that side. So there is a new pair of Gripzilla arms that will do a pretty darn good job getting hold of a ping pong ball. What I'll do is take this whole assembly and get to where I can get to my 0, put this back to 800, which put it back out into the other Gripzilla assembly, back to 1. So if you were to open this file right now, you would actually see this assembly down here. And I'm going to leave it there for the moment because there's a specific teacher request to do arms like this, and I'll make sure that he gets a hold of this, but then we'll probably go ahead and delete this assembly from this file so that other teachers can give the same challenge and use this video to teach students how to do it, but it'll make it easier for the teachers to not have to make a whole nother file that their students are getting to. So thank you very much. If you have any feedback, please leave it in the comments below, and have fun.